Welcome. Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Share the show. Thank you for listening. This is Joey. Let's get started. Although the conditions are less than joyous, I am happy to have a topic to talk about that has so many juicy bits that we can get into, and I want to get right into them. Of course, I'm talking about the Russian-Ukrainian war going on right now in the Ukrainian city of Kyiv, or Kiev, depending on how you pronounce it. And I want to go over what this means for a number of different parties. I want to go over what this means for Black Americans, because it does have very significant meaning to Black Americans. I want to go over what this means for Africans, particularly African immigrants living in America, but abroad as well. And I want to go over what this even means for white Americans and white people living all over the world, right? So let's get right into it. I saw a show from Tariq the other day that said, should Black Americans, should we care about this Ukrainian war? And to answer this question, which I'll go into more detail about throughout the show, care, yes. Be compassionate, no. We shouldn't care about the people of the Ukraine or the Ukrainian government. We should care about what this means for us and for ourselves. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of this. What's basically going on is, in reality, Russia and the United States are having a battle over a pipeline that Russia has that it uses to secure natural gas. The United States of America has a lot of natural gas, and it wants to offload it over to Europe itself. The United States natural gas competing with Russia's gas is going to mess with Russia's money. On top of that, the United States has been closing in ever closer to Russia's borders by partnering with countries that are neighboring Russia. These are considered acts of aggression. They violate the Minsk agreement, which was an agreement to stop encroaching on the Russian borders with the UN and NATO. And all these things done in unison have pushed Russia to the inevitable. It's not making an excuse for them. It's just what it is, right? And because of that, Russia's moved in on the Ukraine. Now, this has a number of implications for a number of different groups. But the first group I want to focus in on is all you Africans living outside of Africa. All you Africans that make up the real African diaspora, right? Because dirty little trick, Black Americans, when Africans talk about the diaspora, they imply like they mean us, but they don't, right? It's just something that they say to be able to get into the USA, right? When Africans talk about the diaspora, what they're really talking about are Africans who have recently moved abroad. That's the true definition of diaspora, along with first and second generation born African immigrants all over the world. They don't mean African Americans who are completely different people now, right? But they let you think that so that you play your part and be docile when they come into the country. But back to the original programming. I want all of you Africans living abroad to take note of something, because we never talk about this. We get a lot of Africans that like to talk about weird topics like Africa is rising. I remember that was a big thing to say less than 2 years ago, or Africans are here to take over. And it's weird things like that. And we kind of forget, that there are Africans moving into white countries and Asian countries all over the world. That's usually indicative that things are usually kind of messed up back home, right? You never want to go anywhere everywhere you go, you see some people from that country. And we kind of forget, we never really see the face of what it looks like. We never really see what it looks like when all these running Africans, all these Harlem Globetrotters, all these road runners end up in other countries where things aren't as sweet, right? And where you don't have Black Americans as the welcoming committee. 2022, and you got Africans being auctioned off like the first 3 episodes in Roots in Libya. You guys are getting snatched up all across the Sahara and being dragged around and sold like slaves on auction blocks. 2022. Right? 2022, you got Muslim extremists moving into West African countries, right? Making you choose up. 2022, you got Africans all over the world getting mistreated and punked, and when shit gets tough, y'all get left in the damn dust. But y'all try to pretend like that's not the case and like Africa is rising, right? Like, let's be real for a second. This ain't even this ain't even the first time in the last year or so. This ain't even the first time in the last 365 days that we've seen all the Africans living abroad in another country getting punked out, and the world letting you know that it's perfectly acceptable to shit on you even during a time of crisis, right? I'm talking, of course, about the little Black girls that are getting left off the trains that are exiting Ukraine while the country's about to get bombed. All the Black people, just the Black people from all you different countries in Africa that all got left together by them white folks. Even during their time of crisis, you know how white folks always try to, people always try to make it seem like, yeah, we're all different and all this kind of stuff. But when the chips hit the fan, man, when it's all said and done, we'll all come together in our darkest hour and put our petty differences aside. Ukrainians are like, nah, we're holding on to them petty differences even as these bombs is dropping. We still don't like niggers. Imagine being so dedicated in your hatred for Black people that you will still take the risk of kicking that nigga down the stairs as you run for your life as bombs and rockets are going off in the background. White Americans wouldn't even do that, right? You wouldn't have a Klan rally, burning crosses on people's lawn, while the Chinese are attacking, right? Like we got priorities, right? So you got to understand a people's commitment to hating you when they're willing to do that. Not just the government, the will and the actual actions of the people. These are just regular citizens doing this stuff to the Africans living there, as well as the government doing this stuff to the Africans living there. And like I said, we're not even really 365 days removed from when China shat upon all the Africans living in the country when the corona outbreak first got popping. Even in times of great crises, a country will not hesitate to shit on the Black people there. As a matter of fact, especially in times of great crises, I'm not wasting, you know how like when there's an emergency on a boat, they go women and children first? Guess who's going to be dead last? Niggers, right? And you guys have been under this misguided conception. You guys have been under this misguided understanding that, how do I say this nicely? You guys thought you guys were going to be elevated to second class status. That's what Africans thought. Africans thought, yeah, we're not white folks, but we're not niggers. We're not like those niggers, right? We're Africans. We're going to get treated like how the Indians, how the East Indians get treated in South Africa. Like, you don't get to be white, but we're not going to let you be black, right? Don't worry about that. We're going to put you somewhere in the middle. We're going to make you colored. How about that? Is that fair? That's what Africans thought the new order was going to be. And they were perfectly fine with the mistreatment and the erasure and the oppression happening to black Americans as long as they thought that oppression and erasure was going to stay at black Americans. Turns out Bob doesn't love Abishola at all. What a downer, right? And it sounds like I'm just making fun of you, but you should be able to tough this off because this is part of being black. I want all the Africans to take note of some things. I even did the un-Joey thing and wrote this shit down. I don't never normally take notes, all right? I want you to take notes of a couple of things. Something that I want you to take note of at first is the only place in the world that you can run to and do your immigrant shtick is America. And the only reason that you can do that and no place else, not even Africa, the only reason that you can do that here in America and run here to America and become black is because of black Americans. You can't do that anywhere else. Anywhere else. Africans should take note of how you're getting treated without black American support. There's nobody in the Ukraine that you can turn to and go, you're going to hear from my black people about this. There's no uprising. There's no groundswell. It's nothing but white folks over there that talk like they're talking backwards, right? It's just this. There's no niggas there to support you. Africans should take note of how they get treated without black American support when you're on the other end of white American white supremacy. Doesn't feel good, does it? Doesn't feel good when you see them kicking you off the trains and you see them leaving you there to get bombed and die. You see it. It's on your cameras, but it's not making it to MSNBC. It's not making it to CNN. CNN and MSNBC and Fox News are showing the little Ukrainian white girl getting bombed and laying on that hospital bed and going, oh, the humanity. Key phrase with white folks being human, right? You don't count for that shit. You're not even going to be in the totals when the bombs go off. If every single African living in the Ukraine, if every single white Ukrainian magically happened to escape Kiev and the only casualties were all the Africans that were left there, CNN would report, thank God there were no human casualties in this event. I'm not even trying to be flippant or joke. I literally mean that. Not a single black death will be tallied in this event, regardless if there are black deaths or not. You're not going to get that. They're calling this event the first war in the civilized world. And like, they're openly telling you what it is. Openly telling you what it is, right? And covering up the open and rampant racism. You see, it's been getting covered up. You ever wonder why there's a Ukraine and why Ukraine ain't in Russia? It's because the Russians don't rock with Nazis. The Russians did a lot of the heavy lifting against the Nazi party in World War II. The Russians don't rock with the Nazis at all. You know who do rock with the Nazis real heavy? The Ukraine. In fact, the Ukraine neo-Nazi and classic vintage Nazi influence is so strong that Barack Obama had to stop supporting the Ukrainian resistance because he realized, oh, this is bad optics. We're going to make the Russians look like heroes. If it's the Russians versus the Nazis, anybody versus the Nazis is going to look like the good guy. Now, what the hell are Africans doing in the Ukraine anyway? Now, this is where I'm going to be fair to you guys. Just like in China, these areas are often universities. So these aren't black beggars. These aren't black homeless people. These aren't black thugs and vagabonds. These are black students. These are intelligent, hardworking black students. But guess what? That shit doesn't matter. You're black. Look at that poor African talking about they got all the different Africans, all the different black. See, y'all don't start realizing, let's keep it real. A lot of Africans be in denial about your blackness. Y'all like to try to use the word black and the word African interchangeably to try to confuse black Americans like y'all down and to be disruptive. But in reality, when you get behind our backs, you openly talk about how you know the difference between the two. That's why you say things like, I'm not black, I'm Nigerian. I'm not black, I'm Congolese. I'm not black, I'm Somalian. But then you get around some black people and you start to say, I'm black just like you. Nigga, make up your mind. Now you realize. See, it's not until you sit on that damn train platform. It's not until you sit on that train platform and you look at that Nigerian you don't like, and you look at that Ghanaian you don't like, and y'all all look at them Kenyans you don't like, who all then look at them uppity Eritreans and them Ethiopians and them Somalians that you don't like. And you realize that you look around and all them little pretty tribes and little names and customs and cultures you got don't mean shit to white folks who just see you all as a bunch of black people. See, all that, when the police pull me over, they don't ask if... That ain't the point, nigga. What do you feel in your heart about who you are? It took some white folks to show you that you all are a bunch of niggas for you to realize. See, what you're feeling, I wish I could just play that on loop because you could hear it in his voice. Oh, they got all the black people. He didn't say all the African people. No, he said all the black people. That's all we are is black people to one another and to the world. We're a bunch of black people. That feeling that he was feeling, that's a process you can only get from that moment. And that's the same feeling that our ancestors felt on them fucking slave ships and on them plantations. Damn, I was warring with them niggas last week. Now we got to figure out a way to get out of here together. That's the same feeling niggas feel in prison. Damn, that nigga's from a different set than me. We from different gangs out on the outside. Man, I done took one of his homeboys out. He done took one of my homeboys. Damn, but in these cell walls, it's us versus the brotherhood and the pile and the guards, right? It's niggas. You're just niggas at the end of the day. And you had to go to that process where you all got mucked in with niggas because you are niggas. That needed to happen. See, a lot of Africans talk about their African experiences. A lot of Africans don't know they're black until they get outside of Africa. Some Africans, like Lupita Nyong'o, will admit that. Hats off to her for just admitting, I didn't know what black meant. See, it's easy to be black when you the home team. It's hard to be black as the away team. That's what we are. Black Americans, we're always the away team. Black Americans, we're always in the hostile environment. For the Star Trek fans out there, Black America, this is SETI Alpha 5. We can't just sit there and, oh no, they mistreated the black. Look at how Black Americans handled COVID, nigga. We went out like some warriors. We knew they weren't going to be giving us no ventilators like that. They was holding oxygen from us. They was holding oxygen for, we're not giving those niggers any ventilators. We toughed it out. We knew help wasn't coming. Did you see what they said about us on CNN during the height of the pandemic? They told us to put the weed down and stop eating fried chicken. Black folks weren't even looking to the government for what we're going to do next. We knew them niggas wasn't helping. But look at y'all all across the world. Be sitting there looking all shocked when these European countries shut down and don't give a shit about you. And that's why I wanted to point out that they were students. If you get a bunch of immigrant students, that means you brought them over. At one point, there was some benefit for them being there. Could be a sports scholarship. Could be that they possess some skill that your country's going to need. You didn't bring them over there because of compassion and shit. It's an exchange, right? But the second that shit's no longer beneficial, look how you're going to get treated. You got a long history. Look at the Windrush generation in the UK. You got brought over there when they needed you after World War II. But the second they didn't need you no more, you realize that they never considered you a citizen and couldn't wait to double cross you. You got niggas that have been living in the UK for 20, 30 years that went on a vacation one day and their passport was null and void on the way back like they'd never lived there. Somebody changed the locks on you while you was gone. Oh, sorry about that, Playboy. Change the password to your Netflix account. This is why I told you guys last week when I played that video of that African talking, no, the white liberal like us. Don't say he don't like us. It's not even that he don't like you. He don't care. He don't have no feeling for you at all. It's just business. And you out here really thinking these white folks like you, Africans. That's the problem. And now you found yourself in a pretty little pickle. Notice that the bombing in Tigray ain't even made the news. This is supposed to be your white liberal friends. It ain't even make the news. They got people singing songs of dedication to the Ukrainians who are Nazis on Saturday Night Live while bombs go off in Tigray in Africa. Notice how all of your African governments, like, think about it. These aren't vagabonds. These aren't people who ran out of the country illegally and snuck into the Ukraine. These were welcomed immigrants, people who went through the process to come into the country as students that were welcomed and recruited in as part of exchanges from their African countries. And now that they're stuck during a war, even their African countries are too broke, busted, and disgusted to even send a plane. You on your own, nigga. You figure it out. Nigga, you're African, you're resourceful. So not only are you abandoned by your fake Ukrainian allies, but you're also abandoned by your own countries because all of your governments in Africa are puppet state coons. Not only that, all of your black African celebrities who love to puff their chest out and talk about how Africa has pride and how Africa can do for self, all you niggas are real quiet. I don't see you, Akon. Where you at, my nigga? You should be lighting up Africa with China's money, acting like you're big ballin'. Nigga, why don't you go send them niggas a flight? As an airplane goes off in the background. Maybe that's Akon. Go get your people. You guys love talking that big shit. But your African governments, your African governments ain't even sending no plane for you. This should let you know exactly where you are and how politically vulnerable you are. Notice how the only reason they even started talking about the open rampant, unavoidable racism of the Ukraine against black people specifically. Notice how the news, the mainstream media, the only reason they're even murmuring about it now, and trust and believe you me, it'll be more than a murmur within about 2.5 weeks. The only reason they're even talking about this shit is because black American media has forced them to. And the reason I point that out is because that's what we've always done for y'all funky asses. 1980s USA was 110% behind fucking South African apartheid. 110%. Ronald Reagan's bitch ass was behind the scenes joking and calling all the African leaders goddamn monkeys. And that shit got recorded and caught on air. That shit got recorded and caught on air. They were trying to produce the same narrative about the whites in South Africa that they do about the Israelis over there in the Middle East. Well, they're surrounded. They have to defend themselves from all those savage... Black Americans put foot squarely within buttocks to make sure the truth got told. You would have never heard of Nelson Mandela, ever, if it weren't for black Americans putting a foot in the American media's ass and making that be a story. We're in the belly of the beast. And see, Africans, normally you make that remark, or normally Africa, oh, come on, nigga. Oh, nigga, please. Nigga, please. You didn't make that happen. No one talked about. Look at the Ukraine right now. Look at what you're seeing in reality, and look at what's making the mainstream media to the masses. And tell me mind control ain't real. You show the average person pictures of what appears to be innocent people getting bombed and shit and running for their lives. By a professional military. Anybody's gonna go, hey man, they're getting bullied, man. Hey, man, we need to let them come over here. We need to help those people out. And then you pull back the camera, and what they don't show you is those same people, while they're running for their lives, they kicking black folks down the goddamn stairs to make sure they can't make it on the train and shit. No niggers. Change your perspective a little bit. I would hope so if you're black. Look and see how they're controlling people's opinions based off of the information that they're choosing to provide. These are the same people that let you say something wrong with the you know what, and they're going to come out and talk about this lacks context. This needs to have more information. It's misleading, right? But they got no problem straight up lying to you to sell you a narrative about this war. I want Africans to pay notes of this shit. I want you to see how completely powerless. See, when you say it's the government, I want to be very clear on this. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, that's a weak excuse. We're not saying it's the government is not a valid excuse for why your countries are fucked up. It's 100% right answer. What we're also saying is you are completely hypocritical and lack even the slightest sense of irony for you to say that the reason why you can't get it popping in your country despite your skill set is because of your government, meaning that you fully well know that governments, more than anything else in their countries, pick the winners and losers of their countries, but you can't understand why we can't get ahead over here. They've picked us to be the loser, nigga. That's why. You can't sit here and tell me, how come you can't get ahead? And I go, well, how come you couldn't get ahead where you were at? And you go, it's the government. And then you ask me why I can't get ahead. Nigga, it's the government. And now you see that the government picks winners and losers when the government is literally picking these Ukrainians over you now. Trust and believe you me. The same way those Ukrainians picked your little black asses off that train, the United States of America is going to start picking your little black asses off the immigration list to make room for these whiter immigrants that they'll be able to way more easily assimilate to within society. that are already going to be eager to blend in. Having a bunch of Africans come over here from a bunch of various war-torn countries that, to be honest with you, America doesn't even really feel like they identify with. Yeah. Having a bunch of people that looks like what America wants to look like again to stave off instability over there in their home continent. Oh, hell yeah. Let me get some more of that. That happens every 40 years in this country. That's how the Irish, Italians, the Welsh, that's how all of them got here. There's all kinds of potato famines and civil wars that brought their funky asses over here. So this is right up the alley as business as usual. What's unnatural is for a bunch of Africans to come to America. There used to be a little bit of a African Exclusion Act. One hint as to who ended that. Starts with black, ends with Americans, right? But I want you to see which way the tides are turning. This is why when I kept saying, I've said in previous episodes, Black America, we're like Batman. We don't got to kill you. We don't got to save you either. We didn't have to do nothing. We saw which way the tides were all. This was a matter of time. If it wasn't the Ukraine, it would have been France. If it wasn't France, it'd have been one of them Slavic European countries that they don't like to talk about. One of them countries ending with Stan or something like that. There's all kinds of turmoil going on in Europe right now that they try to cover up. And now it's starting to come to a head. You got the entire European Union, NATO, and the United Nations all in turmoil. All of these things are in turmoil in Europe. All the things that used to stave off the aftermath of World War II that were put in place. See, this is why I laugh whenever I hear black folks try to say, see, white folks don't have fight. White folks get along. White folks can work. Bullshit. White folks have had whole peace treaties, accords, and United Nations created to avoid white folks banging on each other. Bullshit. White folks fight each other all the time. They have to be forced to have accords and peace treaties and agreements and memorandums of understanding of now, if you go over here, then we're going to go over there, right? And if you do that, then we'll do this, okay? That's how they keep the peace. And one of the ways that they would keep the peace was NATO. NATO was designed just to try to contain Russia. And the second that NATO starts to cracken and weaken, here we go. All these things were inevitable because they were the only thing that was staving them off was certain agreements that both parties have slowly been eroding over time. If you got beef with somebody and y'all agree, okay, we're not going to fight as long as you don't cross this line over here, and then y'all both keep crossing the line, it's inevitable that you're going to fight. Now, another thing that a lot of Africans didn't take note of, and this was something else that I was trying to tell y'all. You guys got so proud. You see, the thing that made Africans come out the closet with the coonery, if I had to put a marker on it, to be honest with you, was when the article came out saying that African immigrants were the most well-educated and the most well-off in America. The second that happened, that's when Africans thought they had gotten the white acceptance award, right? That's officially when they broke rank. It was like, fuck you niggas. We're free. Haha. OJ did it. OJ did it. Niggas sold all the way out. Right? George Floyd had funny 20. I do not trust that nigga. Right? Niggas went all the way. Make America great again. Niggas went all the way white power. They thought they had got in. They thought, oh, God, we're Asians now. They started talking about we're model minority. And what you didn't realize was, and Asians will tell you, especially Japanese that lived here back in the day, Asians will tell you that model minority tag is like getting kissed from Michael Corleone. That's not a compliment. That's a precursor to punishment. When white society is talking about how well off you're doing in their country, that's when you've become a threat. Hell, we know it. There were articles about how well Negroes were doing post-slavery in Black Wall Street, too. Go see how that worked out for us. It don't take much to see. One of the secrets to white American success, or just white success in the world, in history in general, is no competition. Competition is a sin. That's how they get, but that's why whenever you start seeing another group doing a little bit too good for the whites, all of a sudden, you don't even really got to be doing good. It could just look like it. Then your mosques are getting burned in Minnesota, right? Like, you don't even got to be doing good. You can just look like you're doing a little bit too good. Just like niggas. You can't be shining too much in the hood and wearing good. You'll get robbed. How dare you? You know we out here broke. Might as well have been a donation, nigga. You didn't realize that model minority, you're doing so good in America. White Americans looking at you like, I don't like that, man. I'm going to drop a dime on them niggas. And now you don't realize you're about to get shipped on out. As a matter of fact, they already tried it. Hey, Libya's good. They already tried it. And now they're really going to try it. Ukrainian and European, not just Ukrainian. This is going to be used as a precursor for what they really want to do, which is import more white admixture into America. You know that melting pot they love talking about? Well, they're trying to make some white people pasta. And one ingredient they need in this white people pasta is more white people. More white people and less black people and less Hispanics. You're going to see European immigration turn up tenfold. That pure white, nigga, don't even bring me no Asians. Don't bring me no Eurasians. Bring me just pure white. You want to know how desperate whiteness is right now? They don't really even like Ukrainians and Russians and Slavic whites. That's like stepped on white. That's like off white to them. They prefer waspy white, which means white, Anglo, Saxon, Protestant, UK, Scotland, Germany. All right? Yeah, I get a galt if I have to from France. Irish, I guess. Italian, you're getting a little dark. This is how white people think. Slavics, no. Normally, Slavics, no. Slave, it's right in the name. Slavic, no. But now with the desperation of the numbers that they got, fine, give me that Slavic. Fine, I'll take the Ukrainian. Who cares? Whatever. Why do you think they've been having Unite the Right rallies in America? They're saying, hey, man, we don't have time to be fighting over who's a purebred white Anglo-Saxon Protestant white, which is usually like the Nazi white, and who's the new age mishmash mestizo white, where you're from some swarthy white country, or you don't really know where your pure blood whiteness comes from, but you know you have white skin. That's the new age white, the KKK, the skinheads, all the people. We just all got to be white together because we're dying out. That's what the whole argument is about. So, you know, seeing all of the, like, white supremacy, seeing white on white crime over there in Europe right now is like watching a bunch of precious porcelain dolls fall over. Like, you know how fragile white DNA is right now. And you guys are out here having a fucking war? Are you crazy? It's like watching a whole bunch of white T-shirts just be thrown around on the ground right now. It's just terrifying. It's a bunch of fragile white Air Force Ones. They're trying to stop this immediately and get right back to reproducing. Every white country in the world is under replacement level already. And you're trying to throw war in the mix. You already got shit going on in France right now, where France is quietly falling apart and no one's talking about it. Italy's quietly being invaded by a whole bunch of immigrants from Africa since you guys done messed up and killed Gaddafi. And now that gate's just wide open. The Europe that they present to you in the world is falling apart. And you want to throw war into that equation. Oh, no, 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 no. But as an African, you should be able to see. There's nowhere in Europe you can run to now. Italy doesn't want you. The Ukraine certainly didn't want your ass. France can't take you. The UK, all full. Right? All full up. There's going to be something special happening in the UK that's going to wrap this whole thing in Russia into a nice little bow of chaos. And it's something that a black gossip columnist reported a little too early, that they're holding off. That's going on with the UK. That's really going to throw things in turmoil. And when it gets announced, maybe you'll put the pieces of this clue back together. But once London Bridge falls down, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, to where Europe is falling apart. So there's nowhere you could run to, little African. Because remember, all your big, proud African leaders that you love so much, they all bow down to one European leader or another, right? They're all owned by, you can tell who's your white European warlord, who's your white European leader by what language you speak. So you know what time it is. You're not going to do a damn thing. Your African leaders won't even come get you out the countries that you're stuck in. So I want everybody to keep focus of that. Now, what this means for Black Americans, take note. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you there was going to be a point? What, 2 episodes ago? Hell, it's damn near every episode when it comes to the Africans. Didn't I tell you there was going to come a point where they were going to have to get put in their place and realize why their grandparents had to be nice to us, right? You got to play your position. You got to know everybody's position. You got to know what people are good at. You got to know who's who and what's what before you play a game. And Africans got overconfident. Young Africans, young little pups, they didn't know how the game works. They don't know why we're Big Papa Black American, right? Sit down, kid. It was cute. Now, this is going to be a little awkward for the Africans because they're going to have to transition down from Africa is rising, arrogant African, back down to their usual place of humble, asking for help African. And you know, this is kind of like beating up your little punk ass cousin, right? Or you smash somebody in that Madden game. You don't rub it in. You know, you're bigger and more developed. You know, you don't bully. We forgive. You know what I mean? And we need to also take note of some things right now. Now, if you're a Black American and you're looking at what's happening to those Black Africans in the Ukraine and you say, not my problem, or I don't care, you're an asshole, right? You don't got to go out and hold hands and share a Coke, but don't be an asshole. Those are still little kids. It's 10-degree weather and shit. It's the Ukraine. You know, they didn't ask for that. All right. But secondly, I wouldn't be so sure of saying these things don't affect you. Here are some things I feel like we should take notes of. We are still not to a point where we've felt the effects of all of the Afghan refugees that we just brought in a few months ago. Joe Biden, in two little swoops here, in a very short amount of time, has basically shifted. See, now you understand why we withdrew so fast from Afghanistan. We just moved a bunch of soldiers over from one side of the battlefield to another in a very short amount of time. And at both turns, it incurs the cost of refugees, right? And don't think that this, we still haven't gotten the total tally of the Afghanistan refugees coming in. And I know that off the rip, we're looking at 500,000 Ukrainian refugees. And as I've stated before, not only are refugees often a veil to bring in all your snitches from failed regimes and failed missions, like with what's going on with Afghanistan, but with what's going on with the Ukraine is even nastier, because when you're bringing in refugees like this under the attack of an enemy army, you don't know what you're getting in. Sometimes you don't even know if you're bringing in some of the enemy soldiers into your country. That was a Taliban tactic. We have the potential to be inundated with a bunch of these little neo-Nazi guys running around, because let's be honest, when any immigrant gets brought into America, they're going to get brought into the black community first. Sometimes always, right? So these people are going to get set up shop right in our communities. It looks to me like a lot of these guys will probably end up being all kinds of corrections officers and manual laborers and all kinds of shit. But I want you to take note of some things. I want you to take note of the My Family Came Here With Nothing starter package, as I like to call it. We're going to have a rare opportunity, both with the Ukrainians and with the Afghanistans, to see exactly what came here with nothing means. Because came here with nothing shouldn't mean that you start off with an apartment complex and a Dodge Neon and a tax-free business for 7 years and all kinds of benefits. That's not came here with nothing, right? Some of these people come in here with cash stipends. Like, let's keep it real. So we're going to see exactly what my family came here with nothing, or I came here with nothing, means fresh off the boat. Just look at what they're getting and then go look down at that crack pipe you got in the mail from Joe Biden, and you tell me if that feels like it's even remotely fair, right? Another thing I want Black Americans to take note of is to take note of how the people who have been selected to be your black leaders, both directly in politics and in the media related to it, are saying absolutely jack shit about the open, rampant, vibrant goddamn racism against the black people in the Ukraine. These are the people that are constantly browbeating us to be united with Africans. You notice that they're awkwardly silent. They're awkwardly silent about what's been going on, right? Despite the fact, pay attention to where you did get this news from, where this news is flowing to, and where it's not. This is a Rorschach test. This is a Kuhn test right now. There was an MSNBC special little panel, little 4-person panel, with 3 out of 4 of them was black people talking about why this war is important to. Why would this be important to Black America if you ain't going to talk about it? What's going on with the black people over there in the Ukraine? Why would you do that? Now, they didn't say to Black America, but the implications were heavy, right? There was a whole lot of dashikis and do-rags and head wraps and puka shells. We knew what time it was in that special segment. You can look at the picture here. We know what's implied, right? Pay attention to, these are supposed to be your eyes and ears. There was a point in time in America where black folks used to be so on code, right? We used to have the coon problem battened down so hard. Black folks used to be so on code. We knew where we couldn't go and where it was safe. Like, is it safe for niggas is an international question black folks ask. We used to have green books that used to tell you where in America you could go, right? Right. We used to be really on code. Now we've gotten to the point to where our political leaders are just bitches for the Democratic Party and won't even tell you nothing or say nothing unless the Democratic Party says it's okay. Imagine if they'd have been acting like this back in the 60s and the 40s and shit. Boss say we can't march today, right? But I digress. I want us to take note of that because, see, you have to be able to know how to take advantage of political opportunities when necessary. You might be in a position to have to appear as if you're completely pivoting. You got to be a little bit unpredictable and still get your plans done, right? We can't constantly be on a position of this is how we feel about the Africans, because this is an opportunity to flip what they were trying to do to us on their heads. What am I talking about? Remember, I told you that the only answer that white liberal America had for black America's question of how does immigration benefit black Americans was some of the immigrants are black, just like you. And when we don't respond in a way that is pleasing to that kind of response, we're xenophobic and we hate Africans, right? When really all we're saying is it still doesn't benefit us. Them being black doesn't benefit black Americans. Now we have an opportunity to flip that on its head. Okay, you told us that how immigration benefits black Americans is that some of the immigrants are black, so we should support immigration. Doesn't look like you're supporting the black immigrants there. Looks like you're totally cool with Ukraine excluding these black immigrants, right, who have every right to be refugees fleeing the Ukraine as these white Ukrainians do, right? But they're excluding them. I don't hear a peep from you guys. I don't hear anything. You wanted me to support the immigrants because they were black. Here I am, a whole ass black American supporting these immigrants who are black. I smell double standard, America. You see what we just did? You see what we just, now who's xenophobic? Now who hates the Africans? Because unlike black Americans, you have the direct power, white America, white liberal America, to Thanos snap your fingers and all those Africans have to get on the train. Now, I'm going to show you a little flex, Africans. Just by nature of black Americans making this an issue and giving a bunch of stern harumphs about this thing, this is going to have to be rectified in some degree. They're going to have to start letting a lot of those African immigrants probably get into America or maybe a nearby country. So don't trip. But we want to show you, in so doing this, that you would not have been able to do this at all. You would never even have heard about it on the mainstream media without black Americans. And we're about to do this easily. But I want you all to take note of that. I want you to take note of how our black American leaders really get their marching orders from the top down, and they're not even shy about it. They don't even have enough pride. Not a single one of them within the media to point out a real media news story. Not a one of them. And I want black Americans to be able to stand firm. We've been very disciplined. We've been like a poker player, just kind of getting our cards. Nah, it's not good enough, throwing our hand away. Nah, it's not good enough, throwing our hand away. And now we got a good hand to play with here. Because I'm going to tell you what else is about to happen. Every single time the Democratic Party gets weaker, the black vote gets stronger. And that brings me, lastly, to notes that I think should be taken by some white folks. This is rare. I think you guys should pay attention to some stuff here. Because war changes everything, as we know. First thing I should think you should pay attention to is this white on white crime? And I mean that. Because I don't know whatever tallies white on white. See, white on white crime, black on black crime can be a shootout and somebody's relative or bystanders can get hit. White on white crime can go to nuclear war. Right? Nuclear war, right off the top. Doomsday clock gets moved around. Let's also talk about what war in the civilized world, as the UK call. I mean, they just out here being like, we're white folks. We don't do that. Right? This is Bush League. War in the civilized world, or in Europe, as it's being called. Remember, all the rest of the world's riches and economies and ways of life are altered, influenced, and put on hold and diminished just to prop up Europe. And when we say Europe, we only mean a couple of countries in Europe, right? The UK, Italy, France, the pigs, what's Spain? You know what I'm saying? A couple of like Europe is like basically like a big white Disneyland. It's like a tourist attraction. And most people don't know that the state of them is basically propped up by slurping out the riches from other countries. Let's just keep it real. And that's why they've been able to have false peace for so long. But that's falling apart. That's falling apart. All those pacts and accords from World Wars I and II, those things are falling apart because they're getting more desperate. On top of that, like I said, you already got dwindling numbers in all of these European countries. You got deals being made with outsiders. Russia made a deal with China and Iran. So you got the fall of what is white supremacy. When you hear them say the fall of Western hegemony, even the way they say that is, white folks are so good at how they do those little things. They're saying white supremacy, but you can't say white supremacy, right? They know it's falling apart. Telltale signs of the fall of white supremacy is when you see white on white crime. They're fighting each other, which means that they're fighting over dwindling or diminished resources and access. Because they know they got to move over. Because Asian man's coming over here. China's coming over. Right? So you're witnessing the fall of white supremacy. You're going to see more wars on European soil. You're going to see more strife and civil unrest on European soil. You already are. Look at the craziness that was going on in Australia. Remember I said a few episodes back, I said, when's the last time you saw other European countries on the news? Remember I said that? And now it's all over to where you can't cover it no more because it's everywhere. It's spreading like what? Europe looked like Africa. Europe looked just like Africa. I don't want to hear shit about Africa. Oh, you got your war-torn country. Europe look just like Africa right now. Things are falling back to their natural state. You can't, the pumpkins, the coach is turning back into a pumpkin now. And speaking of the coach turning back into a pumpkin, Russia having the balls to make this move for whatever reason is representative of the USA's sanctions not doing shit no more. See, it used to be if you crossed the United States could say, don't nobody buy or sell shit with this country. And if we catch you buying and selling with them, we ain't gonna buy and sell with you no more. You gotta buy dope from us. And everybody would be scared. Because that petrodollar is that's the brick. China and Russia and Iran have found a way around that shit and don't give a fuck. And it said, fuck your sanctions. And they're going right through and they said, we riding. So guess what that also means? Now the USA got to knuckle up. And we don't want to do that right now. We don't want to knuckle up right now. We don't want to Russia crazy. Guess what happens when you got a whole bunch of little countries up under you for your protection, for their protection, excuse me. All based off of your reputation. And Russia pulls your whole card in front of the whole world. You just endangered all those countries. You just made everybody feel like you can't protect nobody because you can't protect yourself. Russia just punked the shit out you. Everybody knows that. Everybody in America knows that. That's damn near worse than losing a war. Especially for Americans. We got pride with that kind of shit. Biden looks more incompetent and more frail and more weak and unsure of himself than I've ever seen. His eyes are squinting harder, looking off into the long distant light. You see, what makes this so bad is that the Democrats have been calling Russia out as an enemy for so long under Hillary Clinton, almost in a nonsensical fashion, just poking the bear. And not only in a rhetorical sense, poking the bear, but like I said, encircling it with NATO allies, blocking its money, just doing everything to aggravate another country, right? Going back on deals that were made on paper. And you know America loves to do that. Black folks and Indians, am I right? Doing everything you can to provoke this and then pretending like, oh, they're attacking the Ukraine because they hate our freedom. The usual line. You've been picking this the whole time and talking all this big shit. And when Russia goes and does Russia shit and dares you to do something about it, you pucker butt. Biden look like he don't know Putin's talking to him. Where? Why is Putin so mad? Who's he looking for? Right? And I'm going to say what everybody's thinking. White people. It might be cool to have a doddering Mr. Magoo, Commandant Lassard from Police Academy, smoky, hippy-dippy, out-of-it president or leader during peaceful good times. You can kind of laugh that off. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of get away with having a substitute teacher. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of let like the linebacker coach or like the lineman coach coach a game one time because Belichick got suspended or something. You know what I'm saying? But when it's wartime, you need the best of the best, or you want somebody who's at least halfway competent, right? And especially when you're going up to what we're not talking about fighting terrorism. Again, we're talking to white folks here. We're not talking about fighting terrorism war. We're not talking about insurgency war. Insurgency war is code for we're fighting some guys, some guys with AK-47s and, no ammo. I mean, no armor. You know what I'm saying? They got, it's just fighting off will and a Quran. And, you're waiting for them to poke their heads up when they're ready to aim and you shoot them because you can shoot from 600 yards away and they can only shoot from 200 yards away. It's not about playing whack-a-mole and stamping down like annoyances. This is what they call a near peer adversary. Meaning these guys can do shit we can do. Right? These guys got hands. It's real. You seen Putin went right to y'all touch me, I got that nuke. He went right to modern warfare too, right? And America didn't do shit. And that reveals a lot of things. You froze, Joe Biden. You froze. You don't think the military don't got plans for scenarios like this all day? He froze. That was all Joe Biden from Scranton. Scranton, PA. And you can't afford to have a doddering, doffering, aloof, lost president during damn wartime like that. You already froze. Now, why am I telling white folks all this? Why would I care? It's important for black people, who I'm really talking to always be aware of the positions of the people around you and adjacent to you. White people know everything I just said is true, and they're all thinking it. Joe Biden, what that means for you black folks is that Joe Biden's team knows that Joe Biden's 99% all the way out of there. They've already been making plans. They know Joe Biden is so out of there. They've been making plans to shake up the ticket 6 months ago. And the only reason that they didn't make a move on that was because Kamala Harris is so unpopular, especially with black Americans. If Kamala Harris would be halfway popular, if she was 10 points better than what she is, they would have been swapped the ticket. They would have probably slipped something in Biden's drink and had his ass spizzing out and said, oh, he's no longer fit to be president. Kamala Harris, you're the first African-American Indian quarter balsamic vinaigrette lady president ever, right? And she would have been sworn in. I stole that balsamic vinaigrette joke from Sarin Sensei. That shit was so funny. But she's so unpopular as a vice president, they can't even do that. And that's why you have them talking about gimmicky picks like Michelle Obama. They need somebody popular that'll move the needle. But they've been making plans to make a move on Joe Biden months ago. And this just seals the deal. Because one thing you can't look like to the left or right is weak during wartime with America. We don't play that shit. And against another white, oh shit, you got us getting punked by Russia? That's supposed to be our number two. We don't even lose to Russia in hockey. Nigga, we don't lose to Russia in hockey. You got us losing to Russia. Oh man, and we bitched up. It's not like Russia like outmaneuvered us and they got one of our spy planes or something where to stay. Man, Russia just said, "What you gonna do, Biden?" And Biden said, "I like to go poopy." Like, what the hell was that? What the hell was even that? So what this mean for black folks, man? You know, it was a shoe-in when I was talking red wave, and I'm going to go further into this in another episode. But it was all but assured weeks ago that there was going to be a red wave in the Congress, you know, in the House and Senate. And That was even before the outrage of the crack pipes and all that. I'm factoring in black folks showing up like they normally do. Remember, that's what I'm factoring. When this is all said and done, the black numbers are going to be about what they always are for the midterms, maybe a little bit lower. But that doesn't matter at all because the outcome is going to be the same as it always is. And the enthusiasm on the other side is going to be so much higher. It's going to be a red wave, right? But now I'm thinking they can get the presidency too. This is setting the table for a Donald Trump. This is setting the table for a Donald Trump. You just undid all the shit you were saying about Donald Trump being weak on Russia and yabbity, yabbity, yabbity when you just let Russia punk the shit out you. And if you set the table for a Donald J. Trump with a red House and Senate to come in and push Vladimir Putin back, maybe with peace talks or something like that. Oh my God, you just made that man president for life, you idiots. You make it too easy. Black folks need to be mindful of the wave that's coming because the Democratic Party's mindful of it. Joe Biden's team's mindful of it. We don't know what Joe Biden's mindful of. I'm not trying to be funny about that, but we all know what's, But Joe Biden's team's mindful of it. And that means they're going to be very, 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 very desperate to put some bait on the hook to get black people back on the line. That Kajani Walker crap, and this is why I'm so proud of this new black media. I'm very impressed, man. It's sleek, sexy, and sophisticated. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Almost kind of scary. See, that's the beauty about black folks, man. You could be a regular black person and say something that gets up the chain, and you don't never know who with us, and it gets to the top of niggas who can say something that can reach a lot of people. And you never even talked, but you talked. You feel what I'm saying? You could have one big black YouTuber make a video on Kajani Walker or Johnny Walker. I don't know what her name is. She's the one going for that they're trying to make the judge, right? And the next person will have another video on her. And the next person will have another video on her. See, they thought they were going to just put out a black woman judge and we were just going to be happy, right? They didn't even do the sophisticated thing and say, well, I think that there's going to be a potential that there's going to be a black woman there or there may be some women there, but we're going to go over the best qualified candidates and then, do the fake thing. But at the end of the day, there ends up being a black woman up there. That could have been a dignified way to do that. No, it's Joe Biden from Scranton. So he's going to say, I'm putting a black woman up there. And he just pulls the black woman name out of a hat. This sounds African. Kajalani Walker, right? And what they were expecting was for black folks to just be praise dancing and whooping it up and ski-weeing that there's a black woman somewhere. They knew that they were going to pour that one on thick. What they weren't expecting was for black folks to go, hold on now. Martin Luther King said content of character. And let's look at her judging record. And being able to point out a specific race-related, anti-black-related case that she not only blocked, but was pivotal in making sure black folks didn't get justice for, was a perfect way of showing, forget all that black girl magic. Nigga, make that person's money reappear. You need to go away. You need to disappear. They weren't expecting a sophisticated, dare I say it, the budding signs of a growing, sophisticated black politics appetite. They weren't expecting us to be on topic. Sometimes being on topic is more important than being on code. We got them flat-footed. We got them flat-footed. They don't know. We got them flat-footed, and we got an unorthodox style. And they don't know what we're on today. They don't know what we're about right now. That's what scares the daylights out of them. And what's going to end up happening, as has happened before, is they're going to break down and just say, what do you want? And this time we got to be ready. Signing out.